Hello everyone and welcome back to The Real Deal. This is episode 7 and the first video on the brand new channel. Today we're going to talk about Thor, the first Thor film, Thor the film. What a tongue twister. Before we get into the movie, let me give you a quick rundown of the story. Also, spoilers if you couldn't infer that from the point that I'm giving you a rundown of the entire story. Essentially, Thor has a big ego, quite similar to another MCU character, but in a slightly different context. Asgard, instead of Earth. Because of his ego, he goes after the frost giants that attacked just as he was about to be made king. Daddy Thor, why did I put that in the script? Daddy Thor, that's so dumb. Odin is like, okay, big ego boy, listen here, and banishes him with his hammer. No, not with Odin's hammer. Like, he banishes Thor along with his hammer. You get what I mean. You understand. And Loki is scheming away in the background for this whole thing with the frost giants. And essentially, Thor ends up on Earth, and we spend a lot of time there. Essentially, what happens, because Loki is scheming away, he has a sort of plan all along. There are a very ragtag bunch of scientists that end up picking up Thor. One of them is Eric, who's like a grumpy old man who's kind of father-like, and one of them is Jane, who's kind of a massive nerd and somehow in love with Thor, and then Jane's friend Darcy, who's just there for fun, because she's there. That's what we need. More characters. Anyway, that's kind of that. Essentially, Thor gets run over twice by Jane, and S.H.I.E.L.D. gets involved not because it got run over, but because there's alien stuff, and that's how it links to the other films, because it's got a link somehow, hasn't it? So that's kind of the rundown there in terms of that bit of story. Meanwhile, Daddy Thor becomes ill, and Loki takes the throne, which was kind of like his plan all along, and there's a massive monster that comes down to Asgard, and basically comes and attacks Earth. So then Thor is like, oh, I've got to become worthy now, and basically gets his hammer back and takes down the monster, goes back to see Loki. Loki's like, haha, I tricked you. And then all sorts of things kind of happen. They break the gate, and Loki dies. I mean, everybody knows that when Loki dies, he doesn't die. So, to begin with, Thor's little crew just could have been more. We get introduced to them early on. We see them fighting bad guys, being a cool crew. It kind of gets made out that they're going to be more there for the ride. However, they're not. They get replaced by another crew with Jane, as I just explained, and when they finally do return, they fight for a minute and then get wrecked, and Thor's like, okay, you guys can go now. And it's like, why? I understand this is Thor's origin story, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't have joined in. Why bother with the crew all along when you could just have him at the beginning of the film instead of with his crew leading an army and them actually die and have a little bit more tragedy there? And if you are going to have them, involve them more, basically, because at the moment they don't mean anything throughout the entire film, and they don't contribute anything. Taika Waititi and Thor Ragnarok just went, you know what, yeah, it's a good idea, let's just get rid of them, and it makes sense. Because it's an origin story, it doesn't mean it just has to be him. That's all I got to say about it. I think they could have been introduced a way better. Now, the frost giants don't feel threatening. That's my second problem. I totally get that Loki's the real enemy and here, but please can we have the frost giants make sense? I think as well, Darcy is a waste of time, and Hawkeye's introduction was in the film. Like, they could have actually had them both do something. Even Hawkeye's introduction, he didn't do anything. He just held like an arrow, and what sort of introduction to one of the main characters is that? Not one of the main characters of this film. One of the main characters in the MCU is that they could have had him like literally take down Thor. Imagine that, and then you see in Avengers that their relationship changes a lot because in this film that would have been cool. I don't know why they kind of felt like they put him in there because They put Black Widow in Iron Man 2, and they knew that Avengers was coming and they had to have them, but I don't know really why they did that, I guess. Now the final negative point has got to be the use of Dutch angles. If there is any part of this movie that takes me right out of the story, it's the hilarious overuse of Dutch angles. Please, Kenneth, please stop. I've not watched any other Kenneth Branagh. There you go. Branagh films. But is this normal? Does he use these all the time? Because honestly, the amount they were used just makes me feel like it takes me right out of everything. Some shots in the movie look cool, and I think a Dutch angle every now and then would have, well, not every now and then, but I think a Dutch angle would have worked in some parts of the movie. It was totally cool, but like literally so much of this film was Dutch angle. You don't need that many, and it felt so forced. It was just insane. Somebody needs to get this director a spirit level. Like seriously, you just need to stop. I miss symmetry in this film. Like, can somebody give me a Wes Anderson film just so I can feel grounded again? Because I seriously couldn't deal with this. Now, I know it might seem like I hated this movie for all the bad things I've said about it, but truly I did not. There were some positives. Thor was wonderful. He's actually got character development, and you really get to know him. By far the best part of the movie is Loki. He's brilliant, fun, exciting, devious, all of the above. The film really sets up the relationship well, and it's so great to see. I love Asgard. I like how it's introduced, and Heimdall is amazing. The world building is so fun. I really like it. And I mean, Stan Lee is in this film. Stan Lee cameo. I miss Stan Lee, guys. I miss Stan Lee. He was so brilliant every single time. And when he, it's a happy moment. I would like to say the middle of this film. There's a middle section of this film where it really goes down to character. And I really enjoyed the character interaction in the middle of the film. I really liked it. I really liked how everything was put together. It was the non-action part of an MCU film that works. I can't help but see how much this film contributed to the MCU. Whether introducing Loki, to showing us the Infinity Gauntlet, to setting up aliens in an otherwise non-alien universe, to showing us S.H.I.E.L.D. properly again, cementing their relationship with this whole ordeal in this film is brilliant. Getting us hyped for Avengers, I mean, it does a lot. We get a fully blown origin story, and it's wonderful. It's packed with flashbacks and world building. You can't hate it. It's just not hit the nail on the head for me. Maybe it did for you, but not for me. I think my opinions have been shaped by the recent MCU films, especially Thor Ragnarok, which kind of shows you what these films could have been. I know they came first, so Thor Ragnarok is actually the one out of place. I like watching that film and looking back and imagining, which I guess does change my opinion of these films. I guess if that film hadn't come out and was more similar, then I'd be like, oh yeah. But I also don't think I would like Thor as a character as much. I enjoyed it. It was good. I'm going to give this film a 6.5 out of 10. I would watch it again, and I probably will watch it again. I would want to as well. I would want to watch it again. I just might have to do something like turn my TV, I don't know, just do something to stop those Dutch angles, because they're killing me. Slowly killing me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.